Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to our channel. We're going to talk to you about all the fantasy happenings for today. There was a lot of movement going on in the NFL. We're going to go ahead and do a rapid fire with our fantasy expert, Shahn Miller. We're going to get deeper into this content as the season progresses. As the season progresses, we will get much deeper into all this content. But for today, we're just going to run through all of the things that just happened today. Okay? So let's start. Are you ready, Shahn?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Jacoby Brissett to the Patriots, Antonio Gibson to the Patriots. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I think that Jacoby Brissett's going to give him a good stopgap at the position. I also think that the Patriots are one of the best teams to draft a quarterback in this year's draft. So I don't think they're done at the QB position. If Jacoby Brissett is relegated to the backup, this also allows him to start for maybe like 4 or 5 games to allow their QB to get their feet underwater, and it also allows Antonio Gibson to come in to be another pass-catching running back for Jacoby Brissett or this rookie to basically get their feet under them as well. I think that this takes Ramondre Stevenson and kind of removes him from the picture or relegates him to maybe a third down back or an up-the-middle back. And either way, I think both of them are probably going to be like, at best, 50-50.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Let's move on. We got the Russell Wilson signing with the Steelers.
I think that Russell Wilson at this age in his career, like the one part of his game that's still amazing is his deep ball. And I think that George Pickens and Deontay Johnson, if he stays with the team, are two great deep ball threats. So I think that they're going to have big splash games. I think they're great best ball players, you know what I'm saying? But it might be hard to relegate on them for, amazing fantasy assets this year.
Okay, sounds good. Well, once again, guys, we will get deeper into all of these specific plays that are happening. Next play, that next move that happened was Zach Moss to the Bengals, Joe Mixon cut.
Yeah, I think that Zach Moss to the Bengals and the fact that they're paying him $4 million a year signifies that he's going to get a pretty big role in offense. And I think that whoever the starting running back is for the offense, if he's a 3-down threat, is going to be a great player. Let's not forget that the Bengals also lost their offensive coordinator. So it's also hard to predict how this backfield is going to play out. They also have Chase Brown, who was an amazing rookie running back down the stretch last year.
Sounds good. More to come on the Bengals. I'm excited about the Bengals. I think there's a lot of offensive upside there for fantasy. So here we go. On this next move, Gabe Davis to the Jaguars, Devin Duvernay to the Jaguars, and Calvin Ridley most likely gone.
So I think that Gabe Davis and Devin Duvernay to the Jaguars definitely signifies that Calvin Ridley is gone. I think that how they used Calvin Ridley last year was a traditional X wide receiver on the outside with a deep threat. And unfortunately, we all thought he was going to be more. So I think that Gabe Davis, has been that for the Buffalo Bills for a long time. So I think he's just going to take over that role. I think it also means that Christian Kirk is pretty much guaranteed for, plus 120 targets next year.
Sounds good. We got Tony Pollard going to the Titans. And what does that mean for Derrick Henry?
So Derrick Henry's definitely gone. They're not going to pay both of them. And I think that Tony Pollard on the Titans, I think that a lot of people forget that last year he was coming off an injury, and down the stretch last year in the second half, he was one of the most highly efficient backs in the league. And so I think he's going to be a great back and possibly might surprise some people. But the Titans are going to be a basement team, so it's going to be really hard for him to succeed when it comes to the touchdown department.
Thank you. That's fantastic analysis there. We got kind of a lesser kind of trade, but lesser kind of move here. Gardner Minshew to the Raiders, and just supposed links to Justin Fields for the Raiders.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that Gardner Minshew at this stage in his career is a backup quarterback. So I think that that's what the Raiders think of him as well. So I don't think that they're going to be done at the position. They're either going to make a big move to trade up in the draft or possibly get Justin Fields, which there are rumors that they're in contact with.
Sounds good. We got Gus Edwards to the Chargers. And then there's this Greg Roman Harbaugh link. That's important.
Yeah, so I think that Greg Roman used to be the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, and he was Gus Edwards' offensive coordinator for basically his entire career. So, there's a lot of history there. I also think that obviously the Harbaugh link and running the kind of like a very similar offense, I think this makes sense for this new coaching staff coming in because they want to basically run a pro style offense that's had success. But I also think this signifies that they're not going to be a top tier offense if they don't run something that already hasn't been figured out by the NFL and stopped.
Sounds good. Saquon Barkley to the Eagles.
Well, I think this is probably like one of the most major moves of the day. I think that Jason Kelsey leaving, I think is kind of probably like made the tush push probably a little less successful in efficiency metrics. So I think that relying on someone like Saquon Barkley now, who's averaged over 90 yards per game over his career, is probably like a good way to account for the loss of Jason Kelsey.
Okay. Okay. We definitely have a lot more coming on the Eagles for sure. We'll probably do a whole segment on the Eagles alone because there's just a lot of movement with that team. So we'll definitely break this down a lot more, guys. Uh, Devil Secretary to the Giants.
Well, they had to do something. And I think that when you're looking at the running backs that were left on free agency, I mean, like, let's just be honest, like this running back class coming in this year for rookies is probably one of the worst over the last decade. So I think that, a lot of these teams were looking at this free agency market as probably the best free agency market at the running back position of all time. So I think that the Giants were, you know, happy to get Devin Singletary in there with what was left over after losing Saquon Barkley. I think Devin Singletary is a solid player, but I think he's no Saquon Barkley either. I think that the Giants are probably have a lot of needs at a lot of different positions, and I think that this just helps them, you know, plug someone in there so they can figure out what to do at all the other positions.
Sounds good. Austin Eckler to the Commanders.
I think this is a sneaky one here. So I think that it's pretty obvious that the Commanders are going to take a QB this year in the draft. So I think that, like, having Austin Eckler come in now and take over the Antonio Gibson role, and let's just be honest, that Austin Eckler is probably going to do it better. I don't know at this age, stage of his career with his age, but I think that he's probably a better player than Antonio Gibson, and I think that having a great pass catching running back now coming in for a rookie quarterback is probably the smart move here for the Commanders. And, to get him on a 2-year deal, I think is probably a great play for whoever the rookie QB is coming in. And I think that they'll probably like having Austin Eckler there to catch balls from.
Sounds good. Josh Jacob to the Packers.
I also think this is a great play. I think for the Packers, I think that Aaron Jones was, getting up there in age. And I think that A.J. Dillon just never really panned out. So it was obvious that A.J. Dillon was going to be gone. And I think that now just, who do they want to pay up for? They had to pay Aaron Jones. So I think that, they made a choice that they'd rather play Josh Jacobs. And I think that Josh Jacobs kind of fills the role of both players. I think that he can run the ball up the middle and he can catch the ball. So it's going to be nice to see him on the Packers and see what he could do. I'm happy to see what happens this year with him.
Yeah, and they cut Aaron Jones, right? So Aaron Jones is done.
Yes.
Okay. DeAndre Swift to the Bears.
So I think that traditionally the Bears over the past couple of years have kind of been a wasteland for a lot of players. I think that this obviously signifies that Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert are not going to have as big a roles as they had last year, and all the hopes for them is going to be going down. DeAndre Swift coming in and getting to steal all the backfield isn't going to happen. I think at this stage of his career, we kind of know what we're getting out of DeAndre Swift, and I think that having these other running backs in the backfield with him kind of relegates him to almost like maybe a 60-40 role. And on the Bears, depending on which quarterback, I mean, they're obviously going to go with Caleb Williams. So I think that their offense is going to be brand new all over the place. So, I mean, maybe we could say, hey, like, you have a new QB, might probably get a new wide receiver, new tight end in the position too with their second pick in the draft. They might trade it as well. But the point being is that it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that team. I wouldn't put too much stock into DeAndre Swift, but I wouldn't be surprised either at the end of the year he finishes as like a top 20 running back.
Okay. Kirk Cousins to the Falcons.
I think this is major. I think that there's no more excuses. I think that Drake London and Kyle Pitts are gonna have to step up this year, and if they don't, I think that there's no more excuses for them, right? But I think that Kirk Cousins with Drake London and Kyle Pitts is a great pairing, and I think that we should expect to see some lightning. I also think that Bijan Robinson might flourish in this backfield if it's a high power offense. But yeah, I'm eager to see what happens with the Falcons this year. I think year one, it's going to be hard to have huge expectations for them because it's new coaching staff, new QB. So like a lot of new things going on. It's hard to get it all to mesh in year one. But I think that moving forward, year two, year three, like we could see like the Falcons actually be, playoff contenders. And if not, maybe win a game or two in the playoffs.
Yeah, sounds good, man. That's great stuff. We have one more to go. There's actually so much more, actually plenty more to actually go over, but we're not going to do that today. After the death settles on the biggest running back free agency day maybe ever, the team still left that will need to address the running up position in free agency or draft are who, in your opinion, Shahn?
Yeah, so I think that the teams that still need to address the running back position are the Ravens, Vikings, Cowboys, Texans, Raiders, and Chargers. I think that the Ravens are in talks with Derrick Henry and the Vikings are in talks with Aaron Jones. We still have Joe Mixon and AJ Dillon left as free agents on the open market, leaving for four teams fighting over them. So I think that these teams are probably all going to need to draft running backs in the draft, and I'm eager to see who they draft.
Okay, sounds good. And we'll follow up with another show, like we said, guys. So thank you so much. And we'll leave you with peace and love and peace and love. Have a great day.
Peace.